Video.
Recording.
We're good. We're recording. Okay.
All right. So the key thing to remember with this ground power unit outside is it'll power the airplane as long as we are using the master alt and battery switch. So push both of those switches on. What I will say is do not use the standby battery. Okay, it will not charge that standby battery. It'll deplete it.
Okay.
So we want to make sure we're only using the master alt and battery when we're running. So when we first turn it on, you might not have noticed, but it said initializing system, then it said Garmin, and now this is the startup screen, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
The engine indicating systems are all good to go, so to speak.
Yep.
But we'll notice that nav2, COM2, and the transponder are not working. And
Yes.
we'll talk about the heading indicator there in a second. But those three items do not work unless we have the avionics switches on.
Right, and that's over here. That's why these are off. Yep.
Yep. In a moment, you can see now this changed its screen. It found its orientation as far as its heading from the magnetometer.
Mm-hmm.
So now it shows we're heading at 304. We have a message. It's probably going to be a complaint because this guy isn't on yet. So it's not receiving GPS information. There's a failed data path, and GMA 1 is inoperative. So we'll just acknowledge all that. All right, so and this screen that we see here is called the reversionary screen, if you will.
Yes.
In the sense that it's got the PFD here, but it's also got the engine instruments on the left side.
Yep.
All right, so that's the normal startup screen when only the PFD is on. This inset map is also here, but normally that lives on this side. Once we turn on the avionics bus 1 and 2 switches, then we'll have to do some stuff over here to get the MFD correct. But then the engine instrumentation will move over here to the left side of the MFD.
Mm-hmm.
And the inset map will move over to the left side here where it normally resides.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and turn on the avionics bus 1 and 2 switches.
1, 2.
Yep.
On.
So doing this in winter, it gets cool. So you have to wear your hat and gloves, but this time of year is not quite so bad yet. We're going to get a loud noise here in a second. The autopilot is going to tell us that it's alive. It'll do that 3 times unless
that
you
is
press
loud.
that button, which is fine. I already pressed it.
Okay.
So with the
So
MFD, right?
It doesn't do it 3 independent times. If to cancel it, just 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just cancel it once for. In fact, if you're real quick, you might be able to figure out timing it so it never does it. But if you do it too early, it still does it. So, one thing to notice, by the way, with the avionics bus 1 and 2 switches off, I think we had about minus 2.5 draw on the main bus, the main battery, and so the main battery.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have minus 5.5 because turned on the avionics switches. Okay.
Yep.
So that's normal to have that draw. It's also normal that we have plenty of voltage.
Yep. 29.6. So we're charging. Yep.
Yeah. So if you don't see that happening, then something's not connected. Right?
Yep.
Either the power pole's got a ground fault, or the machine itself is not working well.
Is there a switch on the power pole?
There's a ground fault.
Just
so
a GF?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can. I've seen it before where it's gone out. Don't know why, but it's a little concerning sometimes because we have the plane plugged in during the winter, and if it goes out,
Yeah. Now you have a frozen airplane.
3 days we don't have any heat. All right. So, anyways, when this guy comes on, things that we're going to check according to that checklist, we're going to make sure this is a 172S model, which it is, and we're going to make sure the navigation database has not expired.
Yep.
All right. So then we'll just hit enter, and that's our MFD screen.
Okay.
All right. So you've looked at some of this on video or online in the courseware and stuff. So it's fairly simple. I flew with Ryan yesterday, and we went out to Poughkeepsie and back.
Yep.
And I will probably spend. After he came back, we powered up the GPU, and I just let him sit in here and play because we had done almost everything we would need to do in flight. So when you see this today, the first time we fly, this will be not new, is what I'm trying to say. All right? So one of the first things you want to look at is our radios, comm radios and nav radios.
Yep.
So we talked the other day about having this be our right hand. and doing all of our stuff in this panel here. We don't have to move over here to do this stuff. We don't have to move over here to do this stuff. The pilot can do it all from here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the observer, the person in this seat, can do it from here if he wants, or he can do whatever he wants. But if you're flying with your left hand, then your right hand can do all of this stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right. So changing the frequencies, we have two comm radios, comm 1 and comm 2. There is a aux radio, but that's for this radio down here, the CAP radio.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and turn that on. So we have to turn on the mission master switch to get power to it. Then we press in and release, and that turns on that radio. We let that initialize for a minute. But anyways, we've got three comm radios, basically. Two that are VHF or talking ATC, and this one is the CAP radio.
Yep.
So if I want to change to a different frequency, let's say I want to go to 122.8, I can change this here, I can change this here, and hit swap.
Yep. No, it's comm 2.
Yeah, and that's comm 2 because I have it selected here. I have it selected here, so when I key the mic, this is what it's going to transmit on.
Yep.
If I do this,
Now it's
then
comm 1.
this is going to be transmitting on comm 1, and you can see that's highlighted there. Whatever I do over here does not change this. Okay, this is my audio panel on the right side.
Okay.
This is the pilot's audio panel. Okay. All right, so I can change between comm 1 and 2, not a factor. I can, if I want to change the standby frequency for comm 1, I have to push this button to move that blue box up here. Only when that blue box is up here can I then change frequencies.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So one thing that I do, and I'm going to give you some of my preferences that I do. You can take them with a grain of salt. So I'll point those out when I say that this is how I do it. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way. Okay? But I'm just going to let you know that on the number 2 radio, I always have my CTAF on there, my Unicom, my ATIS, anything that has to do with frequencies that are belonging to the ground, I put in number 2. In the top radio, number 1 radio, I put in my radar frequencies, I call them that. So if I'm talking to Bradley Approach, Boston Center, Boston Approach, I use comm 1 for that.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yep, and that way I don't have to think about which radio I'm talking with. I always know that this is going to be my radar frequencies and this is going to be my local frequencies. Okay. Radar you don't change as often as you may local frequencies, but I can have 122.7 in there, 122.7 in there, and I can put the ATIS for Barnes in there as a standby. So when I get up in the air, I can then listen to Barnes just by hitting that switch.
Yep.
Okay. And then once I'm doing that, I can then prep this radio with Barnes's frequency. So that when I'm done with that, I can then swap over to tower. And then as soon as I do that, I'll put ground in there for Barnes and so on. So this radio gets more use than this one is. I mean, normally you'll get onto Bradley, they might switch it to their other frequency, 119.0, then you might switch to Providence if you're going to the southeast, etc. So these don't get swapped as much, but these I can, I do a lot of preparation work. I told Ryan yesterday when I was flying with him, I said, anytime I'm sitting in an airplane flying along, I ask myself, what can I be doing next? Because I can always get the ATIS going, I can get the frequency set up for where I'm going and so on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Nav works the same way. All right. So if I want to change the nav frequencies,
That's
I
right.
can do that, and I can swap them, and off they go. All right. And I can press in on it. I can change the bottom nav frequency and swap that.
Yeah. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to using your display controls to flip up on mine, but it makes perfect sense.
It'll take just a moment. I mean, it's really the fact that you get used to your controls being displayed like this. Once you get used to that, then this will make a lot of sense. This is probably the part that takes a little more getting used to. The difference too is that when we hardly ever used to nav radios. I mean, almost hardly ever. The only time I
Really?
use the nav radios is when I'm doing a VOR approach. Other than that, we use the GPS almost all the time. And even the VOR approach, you can do a VOR approach using the GPS as long as you got the nav radio keyed up and know that it's working. And on the G1000, you'll see when we fly that this is Chester VOR, for example. And when I'm in flight, that's going to say CTR right there. So I don't have to listen to it. If I see CTR right there, that means the G1000 has identified it. It's, quote, listen to its Morse code or whatever it has to do to identify it, but we don't have to listen to it. So if I'm flying a VOR approach into here, for example, Barnes's VOR 113.0, as long as it says BAF next to 113.0 when I'm coming into the area from the VOR approach, then that's all. I can still fly the GPS all the way to minimums as long as the VOR is tuned and functioning.
Now that's not using any of the VOR radials, it's just using the VOR designation. Yes, that's on, and all the data is being calculated through the GPS?
Correct, but what happens is when you look at the approach plate, it'll show a radio going into Barnes, and it's 204 or something like that. But the GPS is also going to say 204, and it's going to say Barnes VOR up at the upper left. But the line on the map that we're flying, or the D bar here for the CDI, is going to be GPS. So they come up with that just a little while ago, a couple years ago. It used to be that if you're flying a VOR approach, you had to have it set to VOR, green identifier. Okay, so you had to have it set looking like that. Okay. When you're flying a ILS approach, this will switch to the localizer. It'll switch to green needles so that you are flying the green needles. And then when you do the missed approach, you have to, this won't say OBS, it will say suspend once you get to the missed approach. Then you press this again and it'll switch back to the magenta line. You can follow that up to the
Is that correlated to the go around button?
It is not. Okay, so
you have to hit both of them?
Yeah, you'd have to do both.
Okay.
This one can be secondary. You can do all this first, right? You go around, you throttle up, you get rid of some of your flaps, and you're pitching up. Once you're established in your climb, you can even do flight level change if the autopilot's on to maintain your flight. Then you can switch this back to unsuspend, so to speak, and it'll fly it'll show you the route to fly at that point using the magenta line.
Okay.
When you select the approach, it'll automatically put the localizer frequency up there in the nav1 radio, unless you tell it somewhere else, but generally that's what it does. All right, so this line up here is going to be our information for distance and bearing and our waypoint and so forth, our waypoint information, if you will. If I just, for a quick example, if I put a waypoint in there, let's say I put in Barnes. All right, so now it's got direct Barnes, 11.2 miles, that's the bearing.
Yep.
Okay, so that kind of information is what shows up here. I can also have, let me see if I can do this here. Cancel direct nav to. If I put in a flight plan, it's going to know I'm at 7 Bravo 2 because the GPS is alive. And I can put in a destination of let's put in Bedford. That's probably better. Gives a little further difference. Okay. So now we've got a flight plan in there, and it shows Bedford. And I don't know if you have to. And now it says 7B2 to Bedford. So there's an actual flight plan leg instead of just direct from some waypoint to that destination. We can also go back in here, pressing in this FFMS stop, you notice gets that guy flashing, pressing it again, makes it stop. So when it's flashing, now I can edit this, I could go up here, change this to, let's see if I can spell it, GDM, for example.
Yep.
And do that. So now, it's going to allow me to put another waypoint if I want to, or I could just press the cursor. So there's my route now. Here to Gardner to Bedford. Bedford's not shown. To see it on here, I can scroll down. There's a scroll bar here. You see that?
Yep.
If I have the cursor blinking, I can use the outer knob and scroll down to the bottom. All right. If I wanted to see a bigger picture of that, I can hit the flight plan button over here, and it gives me a bigger picture of all. And I can have many more waypoints listed there. But it gives me the whole synopsis, if you will. From here to there is 28 miles at that bearing, and then from there to Bedford is 111 degrees at that distance instead. Okay, so a total of whatever those two are. All right. And we can get rid of the flight plan window just by pressing flight plan again, so it goes away. Okay.
Okay.
The second line here, this is all the autopilot stuff that we talked about the other day.
Yep.
If I turn on the autopilot, I'm not going to do it with the GPU on because I got the bus lock in and the servos might be fighting it, and so we won't use the autopilot on the ground typically. But if I did, AP would show up here, and whatever else is going on, this could either be roll, this could be pitch, this could be heading or nav, this could be flight level change or vertical speed. So the lateral stuff is over here, the vertical stuff is over here, and this is just the on or off indicator for the autopilot.
Okay.
All right. So the main screen that we look at when we're flying the airplane, we have our airspeed over here, we have our altitude over here. This is our attitude indicator. I think you said you're not familiar with an HSI?
I've never flown with one, but I'm familiar.
Okay. All right. So this is basically our directional gyro, if you want to think of it that way. And then this is a superimposed navigation source on there. It could be VOR, could be GPS. But when we turn the airplane, this guy rotates, of course, and this guy will show us our course based on what it wants to do.
Yep.
And if let's see if I can put it better. Let me try something different. All right. So if I go here, if it's blinking on Gardner, and I put in another waypoint, it's going to it's going to go below it. So let me not do that. Let me do this.
So you want to go to 7B2?
I do. And then I want to go with a waypoint. No, it's not letting. Yeah, so you have to do it ahead of time instead.
Oh, you can't insert any waypoint in there?
I can't insert above.
Okay.
I can only insert below. Yeah. So you have to do it ahead of time, beforehand. All right, so as I said the other day, on the airspeed, we got 60 knots here, 30 above and 30 below. We got 600 feet here, 300 above and below.
Yep.
The vertical speed indicator is here. When it looks like that, that means you are in level flight or nearly. Okay?
Yeah, within 100 feet, plus minus a minute.
Right, so if you go up here, if this moves up here, that's going to show you're climbing, and inside this box, it's going to tell you whether you're climbing at 100, 200, 300 feet a minute. And of course, if it's going down here, it's going to show the same thing, but with a negative 100, 200, or 300.
Yep.
Right? But again, the best way to do that, it's easy to get hypnotized with this airplane. Look out the front, see how you're doing. If you look in here and it says you're climbing at 100 feet a minute, look back out there, adjust a little bit, give it a second, look back in here, check to see how you're doing. This is not like a vertical speed indicator that we're used to having in a steam gauge. This is immediate, so there's no lag.
Yeah.
Okay? And it doesn't seem significant to say, except that
Oh, it's very significant.
when you're used to that lag and you don't have the lag anymore, it behaves differently. You behave differently.
Yeah.
All right.
Thinking back to all my upset training, that's essentially what the instructor pilot was trying to do, is to get the instruments to be lagging enough that when you pick your head up, if you take that immediate read and don't wait a second or two, you do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So this over here, this area over here is the annunciator section. So when something needs our attention, it'll show up here. We may just get a warning or an alert, and it may not really need our attention right now. So that'll be flashing like it was earlier, and we can go ahead and just press that, and it'll display the message that it wants us to see. Okay? This is the inset map, it's called, all right, for the pilot. The range button for the inset map, I can zoom in and zoom out, and I can do so independently of this one. So the pilot can have his own range set, and I can set mine over here differently than the pilot. Okay? And it'll range out as far as you want to go. that's as far as it goes. 1,000
nautical mile range. Yeah, that'll be plenty.
I usually fly with this on 7.5, just from experience. That seems to be good to give me kind of a big picture view and see traffic out here and back here that may be a contender. When I'm coming close to the traffic airport area, I might go into like 2.5 because then I can see all the airplanes around the airport area and see what they're doing. You can't count on that because there could be airplanes that don't have ADS-B and so on. So I have to, but if I do see one here, it's likely that I have to pay attention to it. There's an occasion where this will see itself and it'll give you a warning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, traffic. And it'll show the traffic right where you are. And it's not traffic, it's you. Okay, so,
that's an interesting error.
That's incredible. Those are not from flying.
Really? Those are just...
Those are either died there or sitting there alive or something. But I cleaned this windscreen today. Yesterday. So I know, and I don't think anybody flew it. Nope, nobody flew it since yesterday. So I don't think. I'll have to look at it to be sure. But if they did, I'm going to give them some shit about it because they should be cleaning off the boats. Anyhow. All right, so on the bottom of the screen, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. You can have calibrated airspeed instead of true airspeed. And you can you can calibrate up or down. You can press back. You can do map. And you can have the traffic turned off, so you're not seeing traffic, or you can have it turned on, so you are seeing traffic. I recommend you always keep it on.
Yep, makes sense.
Same with the topographic map. I like that. You can have it do something else. Okay. So there's relative terrain and terrain off and topographic. This just displays the legend, which I'm not sure is that helpful. The weather should be on. I don't know who shut it off. And METAR we can leave on as well. Okay. All right. There you hit back. Go back to the previous set of soft keys. PFD options, we talked about that a little bit, but I can have a separate window down here displaying something else. So it could be nav 1, for example, or I could have it display nav 2, or I could have it display the GPS if I've got this being the VOR. Okay. Same over here. I can do either one of those three over here as well. Okay. The other day, you can see it's lining up with the GPS. The other day with Ryan, I did the VOR check with the Pauling VOR, and I had a known location on an airway 21 miles away from the VOR, and they were both radios were set on top of each other in the correct position as expected, and I need to note that in the book and keep forgetting to do that. I do the VOR check all the time. I just forget to write it in the book. Alright, so altitude units can be in inches or hexopascals or meters, whatever you like. And you can have standard barrel, so that's going to set that to 2992. So today's pressure is at minus 40 feet. We're going to not do that though. To adjust our altimeter, we use the outer knob of these two. The small one is the inner knob, the big one is the outer knob, and I can adjust it as needed there.
Okay.
Whenever we adjust this one, we're also going to adjust this one as our backup.
Okay. What's the fuel elevation here?
120.
120. Okay.
Yeah. So, 120 is a good spot to pick. That's about right. So as soon as I get out of the airport area, I call Bradley and get flight following. I will use flight following if I'm going to Worcester, Fitchburg, Southbridge, Great Barrington, anything relatively close even. I won't if I'm going to Turner's Falls, Orange, Barnes, of course. So anything, almost any time I fly, I use flight following with Bradley, and it's a good habit to have. Otherwise, if you're going to fly more than 50 miles, you have to file and activate a VFR flight plan. And the hard part is remember to close the VFR flight plan. But flight following, I think, is much better. I was flying from New Bedford back to here in that plane, our club plane, and we had a cylinder lose a spark plug. Lose a valve, I mean. And it ended up sticking into the spark plug hole, the base of the valve. But it sounded very terrible, of course.
Yep.
We were 8 miles from Danielson Airport. I have my little Garmin 296 yoke mounted here, and we just diverted there. But I was already talking to Providence Approach. So I didn't have to yell Mayday on 121.5 and have 40 people trying to help me. The approach controller at Providence is, he asked the pertinent questions at first. He says, we're 8010 Lima, change to my frequency, whatever it was, so that he and I are now on a discrete frequency. So his attention is now divided directly to me only. Nobody else is listening to us, and he's asking us all kinds of stuff if we need help or what services we think we might need and so forth.
Yeah, a lot easier to talk freely on a discrete channel like that.
Yeah. So another thing that we do, and it's on our checklist, and what I recommend that you do when you come down here, is go through the checklist. So that it would be the after engine start checklist. All right. So somewhere over here, the engine is started. Then it's going to have you do some of these things. So turn on your avionics plus 1 and 2 switch. You can turn on your mission master switch if you like. Check the MFD like we did for the correct aircraft type, etc. And then we need to check the flight data logger, see that it's logging data. We'll use the outer FS knob, and that'll go 2 clicks to the right, brings us to the auxiliary page. 1 click down brings us to the auxiliary page. This goes to utility, and it says logging data. Okay. 2 more clicks with the small knob down to system setup, and then setup number 2 brings us to ESP enabled. Okay, stability protection.
Okay.
If I grab the outer knob and rotate it 7 clicks to the left, it'll go back to the default map page. Okay. And eventually that window goes away. So back over here for a moment. So we got PFD options, OBS. So with OBS selected, then let's see, I think I can change this course. I can. So I can rotate this course around to whatever I want it to be. So that, I talked the other day about that. If you got an airport you're heading to, you don't want to go directly to the airport, but you want to intercept the runway heading 5 miles away from the airport, you can make an extended center line of this guy and intercept it and then turn onto the course. Okay. If you unselect this, then it's just going to go back default to GPS.
Okay.
All right. CDI is for selecting one of the 3 nav sources, whichever one you want to use. Transponder gives us the soft keys for that. We always leave it in altitude encoding mode. And right now it's on VFR, but I could put a code in there. And I press the code button, and I press whatever numbers I needed. And then as soon as you put in 4 digits, the blinking cursor goes away. So if you put in the wrong digit, so if you press transponder and you press code and you put 130 and you didn't mean to, you could use the backspace to back up and then to 1200 if that's what your intention was.
Okay.
All right, ident is available on the main screen, if you will, the main soft keys. Time of reference, I'm going to get rid of the flight plan for a second. Time of reference, we saw that earlier. We talked about it the other day.
Yep.
these guys here are these guys here. Okay. VY, VX, best glide, and
Yeah.
rotate.
And that's where you never change them?
That's where you never change it. This is also though where you could have a timer if you wanted to. If you want it to be a down timer, you could go here and change that to down and enter. And now it's a down timer. Usually we have it on up.
So if you're doing down, would you then just flick over to timer to adjust how much time you want?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
If you do it, for example, if you're doing a timed approach, you have to put in 3 minutes and 26 seconds based on whatever it is you need to do. And then once you're at the point you need to start the timer, you just press start. Nearest on the pilot's side, on the PFD, only shows airports.
Yes.
And as you can see, there's a scroll bar there, so that means there's more of them. In fact, there's 25 of them. Okay. So if I wanted to go to Keene, all right, I could hit direct. I think I could just hit enter. Enter. I don't think I want to hit back. Stand by. Let me think about this. I think I can go to Keene and hit direct and then enter. So now I'm going to Keene and yeah.
Okay.
So over here I can use the outer FMS tab and go to the nearest chapter, which is there, and here's all the other things I can select. I can go to the nearest intersections, NDVs, VORs. Here's your reference points. Use your waypoints. There's frequencies. There's airspaces. All right, so any one of those. Okay. What's also kind of nice about once I put a destination in there, if I then go to waypoint, it's going to have all that information for that destination here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, including AWAS and clearance delivery, Unicom for a field, runways, all the different stuff. It's got an ILS approach there.
Let's see, field elevation.
Yeah, all that. And if there's an arrow, that means there's more than one runway. So if I turn on the cursor and I scroll down to runways, I can turn the knob to the right once, and there's the other runway. 1432, hard surface, 4,000 feet, and so on. Let's go back this way. I can continue down to the frequencies, and if I hit enter, then it's going to ask me where do I want to load that. So I can load it into COM1 standby, or could have loaded into COM1 active. Right, so now it's up here in COM1. And if I swap that, now it's on.
Now it's active, yep.
Okay. Alrighty, let's see what else.
Oh, it doesn't say Keene up here anywhere, does it?
So the reason it doesn't, it says 0 Bravo 5 Unicom because that's closer. That's the frequency for tremendous laws.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So even though I told it Keene and so forth, it's going to go with that name convention because that's a closer airport.
That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. This is grayed out because we're on the ground, too close, so to speak. Once we get up in the air and fly it around, it just turns that color.
Okay.
I can make it that color. I think if I scroll in, yeah. So at 4 nautical miles, it's always good. After that, you have to have some elevation to work with. All right. And then just alert. So if you have a message, you can press alerts to see what the message says. And that's it for. Let me just look here. So here's our radio volume, the main volume for the radio, and when I turn it, it changes in percent. Okay.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And if I wanted to change the volume of this one, I could do the same independently. Okay.
And that's the total volume, so that adjusts both sides?
So yes, that's on the transceiver itself. That's
Okay.
more or less the volume for the transceiver. If I want to change my volume, or you want to change your volume, we could do that on the audio panel. So here you can see it's got COM 1 lit.
Yep.
If I press COM 2, and then I go back to COM 1, I can now adjust my radio volume. See a flash in there? That's
Okay.
my radio adjusted. Okay. Alright, if I wanted to do this one, I could instead go like this and do that one. If I wanted to do this one, I could do that as well. So sometimes the radio volume is fine, but the guy sitting here sounds like he's really loud. So I can adjust this to turn that volume down.
Oh, okay.
And eventually this will go away, or I could just press it and make it go away.
Okay. And does that reset every time the system powers up?
It stays where it is. So whatever volume it was
Okay.
left at, that's where it's going to be at. So yeah, the question is, when I get in, the last guy that had, a very low volume on his headset, turn it this way up, is going to be allowed to be. It will be, so we can adjust it there.
Okay.
There's another method it describes in the book where you push manual squelch, all right, and then you push in on this guy, and then you can select here. If you push in again, then you can select these guys up here on the outer knob, all right, and then you can adjust the volume, and then when you're done, you can do this and unselect the squelch. So you can hear some noise, static, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, when you're adjusting it, like I showed you, if I'm doing this, I have to wait for somebody to talk before I can adjust it to make it sound
Yep.
right. On the bottom left is the outside air temperature, and the bottom right is the clock. And normally the wind vector, I want to say, is here, but I'm not sure of that. I remember when you're just used to looking at it. Alright, so we got a COM here, got our course, we can adjust as I said. If it's on OBS mode, we got our barrel, we got our range here. So on this one too. So I can push in on that range button and move the cursor somewhere and see what it says about it. I can push it again and it goes away. This side's more helpful to us when we're doing search and rescue, because if I fly right over the target I'm looking for, I can immediately hit range, and here's my lat long. Okay.
Okay.
And then I can hit enter, and now it's got here
Yeah, we're at the airport, so it's pulling up that information, but
it is correct.
it would drop a user waypoint.
It would drop a user waypoint. You could hit enter and select whether you want it to be lat long, radial distance, or radio. And then it would create that user waypoint for you. So if we look at waypoints, we scroll down here to user waypoints. This is NER1 is the waypoint it's showing. That's this guy here. But we could also scroll down to any one of these and look at them. We only got 7 out of 1,000 possible waypoints. So we got plenty of space to use that. We can also go in here, and I think we can clear them. Just like to delete it. I'll say no for now because it's part of a search pattern. That way, if I delete that one, it's going to look fun. But anyways, all right. Let's see what else we got. Flight plan we saw, menu. So a menu on this screen allows us to dim the display. Right now it's set at auto, and that's at 67%. So I could change this to manual, all right, and enter. So now it's manually set. So now I can increase the brightness, or I can decrease the brightness.
Okay.
And when you're on your check ride, that's what
They're going to go all the way dark, and then you hit the red button over here for revision.
Right. Yeah. So then you hit this one, and
Yeah.
it moves everything over to there. You fly using that, then he's going to dim this one, and then
you fly with the backup instruments.
Then you fly with these guys here.
Yep. Oh no, back to steam gauges.
Yeah.
Oh, the horrors.
All right. So let's see if I can get this to work again. I think I can. Yeah, it's not really that dark, so you can work with it.
And do you have the same controls on your side? Does the same thing?
No. So the controls on this side, when I hit menu, there's a host of things that happen. Well, I lied. You're right. I can do that. Because I got it reversed. So that's why.
Oh.
But when I press menu over here, then I've got a lot of different stuff. So if I go into map settings, for example, and I hit enter, these are all the things I can change relative to the map. But there's not only map, there's also weather. Enter. So now I can change things relative to the weather. Only a few things, as you can see. But again, if I go up, use the arrow knob to go back to there, and turn it again once more, and hit enter, so now I can control things that have to do with traffic and so on. I'm going to go put that back though, because it should be on map. Yeah, you can restore the defaults too if you want to, I guess. Stop it. So let's see what else we have here before I get off here. So then procedure would be for instrument approaches. You can select the approach. You can select an arrival, which would be a star or a SID.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all we have available to us because you don't have an approach in there. But we can select the approach for keen in this case, right? Yeah, that's good. And no, it's Northampton actually. No, it's good. Yeah, we could do the initial approach from Gardner. We could turn on the minimums. I don't know what the minimums for keen are, but they're fairly high, I think. It's a pretty high airport. Hit enter, and then we could, if we wanted to, we could activate the approach. It gives us this warning. Right, so now it's going to have us going directly to Gardner VOR to start an approach, and to Kahau, Yergi, and so on.
Okay.
I could delete the approach, you just can't remember how.
Delete.
Right? That was it. Let's see what else. We have procedure and then enter. So clear is if you want to delete something or you want to back out of something. You can go back.
Yep.
If I have flight plan up there, I can hit clear. Clear the flight plan. So you're asking me to clear, delete all the waypoints. I can. Let's see what else. So on the MFD, typically we have the same stuff here, and I can change my audio panel so I'm transmitting or receiving on different radios than the pilot is transmitting or receiving.
Yep.
So it can be on COM 1, it can be on COM 2. I mean, I can't change this frequency so that it's different from this frequency. That I can.
Right. You only have two radios.
Right. Then let's see what else we got. So we
But I suppose it'd be typical that the pilot would be communicating on like COM 2 and you'd be communicating on the aux.
Yes, that's in emergency services parlance. That's correct. Yeah, so if we are doing SARX, search and rescue, or something like that, I would probably be talking to mission base. When we do that Fertile Keynote flight I was talking about, where the F-15s come chase us down, we'll have the pilot be talking to Bradley, ATC, and the observer will be either talking and or monitoring the second radio, which is going to be on simulated guard, which is in that case 134.1, and then this guy here will also be monitoring the CAP radio, so his radio setup will probably look something like that, where he's talking on COM2 but monitoring COM3. If he had a talk on COM3, he could press this button, and now he's monitoring COM2 but talking on COM3.
Okay.
So, and you can have all of them lit up if you so choose.
Get completely task saturated.
Well, that was me last week before last. I had all three radios on. I had it looking like that because I wanted to be able to key the mic and talk to ETC. But I had to try and bend my ear and listen to the fighters talking on COM2 to the targets. And then I had to report every now and then on COM3 or AUX to the CAP. Let's see what else we got.
Yeah, you need a couple hours of experience to be able to do that.
Do, but
And
even,
fly the aircraft.
Even then, well, flying the aircraft I didn't have to do because I had it on autopilot.
Oh, that's right. You were just doing racetracks.
Yeah, and that was the easy part. But sometimes the ATC is talking to not me or not anything to do with me, to some other airline, Southwest Airlines, and I'm trying to hear what the fighters are saying. And so sometimes I'll just shut them off and just go like this, and then quickly go back and make sure they weren't talking to me. Or, so,
Yep.
do what you got to do, right? Okay. All right. So the autopilot panel here is the autopilot turns on with this switch.
Yep.
When you turn on the autopilot, automatically turns on the flight director, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
Once the autopilot comes on, it's going to come on in roll mode and pitch mode. It's going to say ROL and PIT. So it's going to roll wings level. It's going to maintain whatever pitch you had when you turned it up.
Yep.
So if you're 5 degrees nose low, it's going to maintain that descent. If you did that and you didn't want to continue that pitch, you could then hit ALT, and it's just going to level at that altitude. Whatever the altitude was, when you hit ALT, it'll overshoot it a little bit, maybe 40 feet, and then it'll come back and lock it in. The autopilot on this thing is phenomenal. I mean, it is so precise, and it's the Garmin autopilot that's so precise, because I've flown two other airplanes beside this one, 3 airplanes total with that same GFC 700. All 3 of them behave exactly the same way as far as they're precise. Let's see what else we got. Alright, so autopilot, then once we have the autopilot on, we can press heading, and it's going to turn to wherever the heading bug is. So if you're wanting to fly using the heading bug, you might first press in on this guy. And
Then I'll set it to the current heading.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then if you hit heading now, you can use this heading now to turn left or right, whatever you want to do, or onto heading.
And if the heading bug is over at 075 or something like that, then it's gonna, standard rate turn to that point?
Yeah, standard rate turn for sure. Yeah. The only time where it doesn't do a standard rate turn is if you are in a hold. It'll maintain the hold. So if you've got a strong wind blowing across you or down you, it's going to turn steeper on the downwind side and shallower on the upwind side, etc., to maintain the pattern. And there's no yaw damper, so you have to do the rudder part of it. It does the aileron and pitch, but you have to do the rudder. All right, so then we got nav. So if we, why am I I'm boring myself. If we had a course in there, either direct to or something else, we could hit nav, but we have to be kind of pointed at that course to intercept it.
Right.
If we're pointed away, or you can be pointed away and close to it, it'll still turn onto it. But if it's outside of the course, like if this guy here is off the screen, it'll just keep going away. You have to turn it towards the course. And then we've got approach. So if we're flying with the autopilot, we're going to fly the approach with the autopilot. When we get to our last turn onto the final approach course, then we hit approach, and that'll arm the localizer and the glide slope, or it'll keep the glide path where it is, on the course where it is on the GPS approach, and it'll arm the glide path. So once it gets there, it's to set. And now we've got vertical speed here. Once you press vertical speed, it puts it into a mode, and then use nose up and nose down to tell it what you want to do.
Yep.
So vertical speed says, okay, now you're in the vertical speed mode. Do you want to go up? Do you want to go down? How fast do you want to go up? How fast do you want to go down?
Yep. And that's in hundreds of feet per second?
Hundreds of feet per second, yeah. And then flight level change is where we, instead of having, it's feet per minute, I'm sorry. Instead of having feet per minute,
yes.
We're going to have knots. It's going to say KTS up here with the speed next to it. So if you're climbing out at 75 knots, you turn on the autopilot, it's in pitch and roll, it's going to maintain your climb, and then when you hit FLC, it's going to show your airspeed right there. Then you can say, well, I don't want to do 73, I want to do 75, so then you can hit nose down, to pitch the plane down to get to 75. It'll say 75 here. It'll maintain whatever speed you tell it you want to maintain with the autopilot on and flight level change.
Okay, so VS really just maintains your speed, and you are using the elevator to pitch up and down, and FLC maintains the speed and whatever climb rate you get or descent rate you get.
Right.
That's controlled through the throttle.
Yep, exactly so. That's exactly right. Okay. All right, so then a couple other things we have over here. We have VNAV, so we can put in our flight plan a profile we want it to descend to when it gets to certain waypoints, and VNAV we can activate that in flight. And then lastly, we have the back course. I was talking about that the other day about flying a localizer back course. Then you can use the back course, and your sensing will be correct left and right as you're flying your approach. Otherwise, it would be opposite.
Yep.
Okay, and then notice that our detail is not all. There it is. So when you have it other than full detail, it shows up with a window over here. And it says here detail 3, detail 2, you can see.
Yep.
And then detail 1, and then
Full detail.
all. Okay. So it depends what you're doing. Sometimes we'll have it on detail 1 where we're doing search and rescue, because you don't need to see all these waypoints and airspaces and so on. But, it's there if we need to use it. Let's see what else we got. Oh, the play button, I talked about that too. This is pretty cool. So if ATC says something and you didn't get all of it, you can press play and get a repeat. Unless ATC quickly starts talking to somebody else, and then you won't, because
that's a new play.
Overrides the playback feature.
Can you hit play in a current transmission?
No, it'll not work.
Okay.
It'll just. So sometimes when you're flying out west of here and you're talking to New York approach, and they're talking once every 3 minutes, and you're talking to a cadet on an orientation flight, and you hear the last half of the transmission, your first thought is, was that for me?
Yep.
Then you can hit play, and then as soon as it says Cap 19-0, you say, oh, that's me, so you can key the mic and respond to whatever they said. If you know what they said, you already heard the last half. You don't, you have to listen to the whole thing, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what else. It's a good primer. Well, like I said, once we fly, it's going to be easier in the sense that you have to use it, and then you retain it better, and it makes more sense when you're using it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm excited to get in and do the flight with the autopilot. I've never played with one of those before, so
It's
I'm really excited to have that as, flying hands off is just the next level.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you will sit here just like this, and you got to prevent yourself from falling asleep, because it'll let you know. Oh, one more thing is the altitude bug. So here's our altitude knob here.
Yep.
Yeah, the outer one does thousands of feet, and the inner one does hundreds of feet.
Okay.
And if we're not using the autopilot, that's just a memory tool, or just a bug.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
If we are using the autopilot and we're below that and we're climbing to it, once it gets to it, it'll level off. That's our set altitude. say before above it, and we set that altitude below our altitude, and we started descent.
Yep.
And it's going to climb down to it and level out.
Yeah.
Once it's there, once it's captured that altitude, the autopilot has captured it, we can adjust this all we want. Nothing else is going to happen. It's not going to change until I make it do something by flight level change or vertical speed. Because once it's captured, it says up here ALT 2500. I can do this all I want here, and nothing's going to change, which is good, because when I'm doing my missed approach, before I even get close to the missed approach, I'm going to set this at my missed approach altitude.
Yep.
So I'm still going down
Go
like
down,
this on the glide
stay.
path, and then when I climb up, I want it to head towards that altitude. Okay. All right. Questions? I know it's the information by fire hose, but
Yeah, no,
you said you had that sim. Did you get the simulator for the G1000?
I looked for it. I couldn't find it.
Okay, I can send you a link to it.
If you would appreciate that. Yeah.
That's pretty good. It's hard to work with because you're clicking around with a mouse. Changing frequencies with a mouse is not that easy, but it's doable. It gives you that joke.
Yeah.
More importantly, putting in a flight plan, let the plane fly. You can also set it up so that it's in flight at a certain airspeed at a waypoint, and when you start, it starts from that waypoint. So you'll be able to know, okay, I'm at 3,500 en route to Bedford. You put the flight plan in and so forth. So it's pretty cool. All right, I'm going to jump ship here.
Okay, I'll let you jump.
All right, so I got that mission master switch off. We'll shut off the avionics bus 1 and 2. Let it power down. Let it switch over to reversionary mode.
Waiting for menu. Okay, there's
and I can shut the master on.
Master off.
Good.
And standby's off.
Yep.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So if you want to undo the